"What the heck are you doing, Karen?" I rushed out, yelling as I heard the bulldozer's engine roar to life. Its gleaming steel blade was aimed straight at my sister's wheelchair ramp. Karen turned around, smirking. "Maintaining neighborhood standards, buddy. This ugly thing violates HOA rules. We have a city permit. You can't touch it. The city isn't the HOA," she snapped, waving a piece of paper before yanking it back. "You were notified 4 weeks ago. That's a fake document. This is a federal violation," I shouted. "The HOA doesn't care about federal laws," she cackled shrilly. "This is your last chance, Karen. You're digging your own grave here." She shot back coldly. The mistake was letting it exist in the first place. "My name is Michael Harris. I'm 34 years old, a software engineer from the small town of Laurelville, Oregon. Right now, I live with my sister in the Oak Ridge Grove neighborhood, a place I once thought would be a peaceful, fresh start after some tough times in life. My job keeps me glued to a computer screen all day, but I don't mind stepping away to protect what matters most to me, especially my family. When you hear this story, you'll understand why I couldn't just sit back when an arrogant HOA board member decided to turn our lives into a nightmare. You won't believe what happened when our power-hungry HOA president decided to bulldoze my disabled sister's wheelchair ramp right in the middle of her busy workday. What this self-important neighbor didn't see coming, though, is that my sister isn't your average resident. She's the governor of the state. And this is about to become the biggest mistake of Karen's pompous career. Let me tell you our story, what we've been through under the HOA's outrageous tyranny. Leave a comment with the number 9 so I know you're ready to dive into this with me. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of the tense twists waiting ahead. Wishing you a peaceful day. The bright orange paper taped to our front door set my blood boiling. It was the 7th violation notice this month from the HOA, all targeting my sister Lily's wheelchair ramp. I crumpled it up and tossed it onto the growing pile of official warnings from Karen Delaney, just as the hum of Lily's wheelchair motor echoed from the back pathway. "Another love note from our wonderful neighbor?" Lily asked. Her voice was soft but laced with exhaustion. Her eyes betrayed how drained she was from her new job, yet she never complained. Not about the workload, not about the car accident 8 months ago that left her in a wheelchair, and not even about Karen's relentless harassment. I thought being HOA president would keep her busy. "Guess she still has time to nitpick our house," I replied, glancing out the dining room window. There was Karen, standing in her yard, snapping photos of our ramp with her phone. Her glossy brown-dyed hair and fancy workout clothes couldn't hide the malice on her face. I still remember the day we installed that ramp. Everything was by the book. Licensed contractors, a city permit, even painting it olive green to match the house trim. But Karen showed up before the concrete had even dried, clutching her HOA rulebook like it was some priceless treasure. Section 12, Clause 4 clearly states, "All exterior changes must be approved by the board," she said. Her tone so fake it made me sick. "We have to preserve the neighborhood's value, you understand, right?" What drove me up the wall was how Karen kept accidentally scheduling HOA meetings about the ramp. At times Lily couldn't attend. Not that Lily could have shown up anyway. She's busy running the entire state. That's right, my sister's the governor, but we've kept that quiet around here to hold on to some privacy after her recovery. 3 days ago, I caught Karen measuring the ramp with a tape measure at 7 in the morning. When I asked, she smirked and said, "Just doing my duty as a dedicated HOA president." From that moment, I started documenting everything, recording videos, saving notices, and keeping a detailed log of every confrontation. Something told me we'd need it. This morning, though, was different. As I helped Lily into her car for therapy, I spotted Karen huddled with 3 guys in suits near her house. She was pointing at our ramp, practically buzzing with excitement. One guy scribbled notes while the other 2 snapped photos nonstop. "I don't like this one bit," I said to Lily, a knot of unease tightening in my chest. "Should we just tell them the truth about you?" Lily shook her head, her voice steady. "I don't want to use my position for special treatment. We'll handle this fairly, the right way." But when I saw Karen grinning triumphantly, handing thick envelopes to those guys, I knew playing by the rules might not be enough this time. I whipped out my phone to record, just in time to catch her voice echoing across the yard. "That's right. The bulldozer needs to be here by tomorrow afternoon. The board's already approved tearing it down." My heart stopped. Were they really going to destroy the wheelchair ramp? As Lily's car disappeared around the corner, I bolted inside to check the security footage and grab our permit files. But what I found buried in those documents? It's going to make Karen regret ever messing with me. Midway through breakfast, I nearly dropped my coffee mug when a loud rumble of machinery hit my ears. I raced to the window, heart pounding. There was Karen, standing in front of my yard in her signature deep purple blazer, her brown hair styled to perfection. She was directing a guy in a hard hat right next to Lily's wheelchair ramp. I grabbed my phone to record, stumbling outside in a panic. The early morning sun was just peeking over the horizon, casting a faint glow on Oak Ridge Grove, still half asleep. A bright red bulldozer loomed at my driveway entrance, its steel blade glinting like a silent threat. 3 workers in green vests were measuring Lily's ramp with a white tape measure, while Karen Delaney clutched a stack of papers to her chest like it was priceless treasure. "What do you think you're doing?" I yelled, my voice cracking with a mix of stress and fury. Karen turned, her fake smile blooming wide. "Oh, good, you're home," she said, her tone so syrupy it made my teeth grind. She stepped closer, her pricey high heels sinking into our freshly mowed grass. "I've got an emergency order from the HOA board right here. This thing is a serious violation of community rules. Section 7, Clause 9. She waved a paper in my face, then yanked it back before I could grab it. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm the way Lily taught me when we faced tough days together. "Karen, we submitted all the paperwork. The city approved it." "The city isn't the HOA, buddy," she cut in, that smile still plastered on her face. "As board president, it's my job to uphold neighborhood standards. This ramp? It's an eyesore, dragging down property values. Don't you see how out of place it looks?" The bulldozer's engine growled to life, and it felt like someone was squeezing my stomach. I fumbled with my phone, pulling up the property map Lily made me save, complete with boundary lines and permits. "This is illegal. You can't just destroy someone's property without proper notice or a court order." But Karen just laughed, a high-pitched cackle that gave me chills. "Notice was sent 4 weeks ago by certified mail. Here's the receipt, take a look." She pulled out another paper, flashing a signature I'd swear I'd never seen before. I frantically dialed Lily, but it went straight to voicemail. Of course, she was in a closed budget meeting for the state today. I forgot. I tried her assistant, the security team, anyone I could think of, but no one picked up. The workers started planting yellow marker stakes around the driveway. One of them hesitated, flipping through papers, whispering to his buddy, and pointing at something that didn't seem right. "If you go through with this," I warned, my voice steadying with resolve, "you'll be facing our lawyers. This violates the Americans with Disabilities Act." I switched my phone to live stream, determined to capture every second. Karen's smile faltered, just for a split second. "The HOA doesn't have to follow." "No HOA stands above federal law," I shouted, my voice echoing so loud that a few porch lights flicked on nearby. Old Mr. Henry Sullivan, our neighbor, poked his head out of his door, then ducked back inside when he saw Karen. But she'd already turned to the bulldozer operator, giving him a sharp nod. The massive machine roared to life. The dry crunch of its tracks grinding into my driveway filled the air. I stood there, helpless, watching the steel blade lower toward the ramp we'd spent months perfecting. "This is your last chance, Karen," I said, gripping my phone tight. "You're digging your own grave here." She spun around, her eyes ice cold, despite the smirk still curling her lips. The only mistake was letting this ugly thing exist in the first place. There are rules to respect. You should know that. The bulldozer's blade hit the edge of the ramp. The screech of metal scraping concrete sent a shiver down my spine. I kept recording as chunks of our carefully built structure started to crumble. They had no idea old Henry had returned with his camera, or that neighbors were gathering, phones raised high. Right then, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from Lily's security chief. "Stay calm, keep filming. Backup's 5 minutes out." I cracked my first smile of the morning, watching Karen orchestrate the destruction like some smug victor. She was so caught up in her triumph, she didn't notice the black SUVs turning onto our street, or the police sirens growing louder. Sometimes, the biggest mistakes come from overlooking the smallest details, like not realizing your seemingly ordinary neighbor is one of the most powerful people in the state. And Karen was about to pay for that ignorance in a way she'd never see coming. I'll never forget the moment our quiet Oak Ridge Grove street turned into a scene of chaos, like nothing I'd ever witnessed. Just as Karen Delaney was clapping her hands, celebrating with her 3 lackeys over removing that eyesore, a sleek black SUV glided around the corner. Then another, and another. Red and blue lights flashed everywhere. I could barely hold my phone steady as I hit record. I knew things were about to get unforgettable. Karen's face went from smug to panicked in a heartbeat as 4 state police cars pulled up, followed by 6 identical black government SUVs. Neighbors who'd been peeking through curtains all day flooded their front yards, crowding the lawns. Everyone could feel something big was coming. "What's going on here?" Karen demanded, her voice breaking with strain. "This is just a neighborhood matter." Right then, Lily's security chief stepped out of the middle SUV. He scanned the scene carefully before opening the back door. The air went still, almost suffocating, as my sister Lily emerged in her wheelchair. She wore her formal silver-gray governor's blazer, her face set in that stern look I'd only seen at her most critical press conferences. "Actually, Ms. Delaney," Lily's voice rang out, clear and commanding, "this stopped being a neighborhood issue the moment you violated federal disability protection laws." She rolled forward, her security team moving in perfect sync around her like a single unit, not to mention destroying state property without permission. Karen's face drained of color, a mess of emotions flashing across it. "State property?" she stammered, her voice faltering. "That's right," Lily replied, pulling out her phone. "Would you like to see the ownership papers, or should we start with the Americans with Disabilities Act? I'm quite familiar with Title III, especially since I signed new state protections into law 2 weeks ago." The crowd of neighbors swelled. I counted at least 15 phones recording everything. Mrs. Eleanor Harper from across the street had already gone live on social media. But the HOA rules clearly state... Karen stepped back, clutching her precious stack of violation notices. "Funny you bring those up," Lily cut in, motioning her assistant forward with a thick folder. "My legal team's been reviewing your HOA bylaws all morning. Want to guess what they found?" I watched Karen's fellow HOA board members start to quietly distance themselves from her. Smart move. Multiple state housing law violations, discriminatory practices, and Lily paused for effect. Some irregular financial records stretching back 4 years. The crowd buzzed with astonishment. I zoomed my phone camera in on Karen's face, capturing the moment her complexion went paler than those papers she'd once flaunted so proudly. I didn't mean to break," Karen stammered, her hands fumbling. "I had no idea." "That I'm the governor," Lily finished for her, her voice calm yet razor-sharp, "or that bulldozing a disabled person's ramp without proper notice or permits is a federal crime." 3 state investigators stepped forward, notebooks in hand. Behind them, I spotted news vans rolling up at the end of the street. "Ms. Delaney," one investigator said, "we need you to come with us to answer some questions about today and these financial irregularities." As Karen Delaney was led away, still muttering about property values and HOA rules, Lily turned to face the growing crowd. Even in her wheelchair, surrounded by the wreckage of our ramp, she radiated the kind of leadership I'd always admired. "Neighbors," she began, her tone low but brimming with undeniable strength. "Today, we have a chance to redefine what community really means." She gestured toward the shattered concrete. "This isn't just about me or my ramp. It's about everyone's right to live with dignity in the place we call home." The crowd fell silent. Faces showed guilt, anger, and, most of all, understanding. But as I watched Karen being escorted to a police car, still clutching her HOA rulebook like it was her last treasure, I couldn't stop thinking about what lay ahead for our quiet Oak Ridge Grove after this chaotic night. And how many other HOAs out there were quietly pulling the same stunts Karen had for years. The morning after the ramp demolition, my phone's constant buzzing jolted me awake. Our security footage had gone viral overnight, and news vans now clogged the street in front of our house. But what stunned me even more was a call from an old high school friend, Ezra Callahan, now a renowned human rights lawyer. He dropped a bombshell about Karen's past. When I opened his email, I froze at the documents. Karen had been sued 5 times for similar schemes in other neighborhoods, always settling quietly before moving on to wreak havoc at a new HOA. This time, she'd picked the wrong fight at the wrong moment. Lily, the governor I've always looked up to, didn't let emotions take over. She sprang into action. She called an emergency press conference right in our front yard, with the broken concrete still scattered behind her. Reporters clamored as she presented a thick stack of documents, proving Karen hadn't just violated federal disability laws, but also breached 20 state housing regulations. But things got even juicier from there. Older neighbors started speaking up. Mrs. Serafina Vega from across the street shared how Karen forced her to tear down her prized herb garden. Mr. Henry Sullivan showed evidence of fines he'd faced for installing a lift for his veteran father. Even the quiet Lennox family revealed threats of penalties over a special playground for their autistic son. The neighborhood I thought I knew suddenly felt unfamiliar. People opened up, shared their stories, and began to unite. Karen tried calling an emergency HOA meeting to dismiss what she called baseless slander, but only 4 of her loyal board cronies showed up. Meanwhile, Lily invited disability rights advocates to our house, and nearly 3/4 of the neighborhood turned out to learn about housing access rights. Just when I thought we'd hit the peak, someone leaked the HOA's financial records. Turns out Karen had funneled fine money into renovations for her own home, claiming it was an approved community project. The HOA's lawyer quit on the spot, and 5 board members sent furious resignation emails, ones that somehow ended up with the local paper. Karen Delaney still wouldn't back down. The next morning, she showed up at our door with a cease and desist letter demanding we stop spreading lies about her. She had no idea she'd just walked into a meeting between Lily and the state housing commissioner, who was eager to audit every HOA decision Karen had made over the past 7 years. Watching her realize her power was crumbling right in front of her, it almost made all this hassle feel worth it. Almost. But what thrilled me most? Seeing every neighbor put up report accessible housing violation signs in their yards, until Karen's house stood alone, the only one without. News helicopters circled overhead, capturing the whole scene. By sunset, our story had spread across national broadcasts. That night, as I watched neighbors gather on my lawn, sharing stories and brainstorming a more open-minded HOA, I couldn't help wondering how a single wheelchair ramp sparked a revolution like this. But the night wasn't over. Lily had just received a striking set of documents tying the bulldozer company to Karen's private construction business. The next morning, I woke up to tens of thousands of messages from neighbors sharing their own HOA horror stories. My phone buzzed nonstop with reporters begging for interviews, but what really caught my eye was an email from Mrs. Ellen Duval, an elderly neighbor Karen had fined 3 months ago for a garden gnome. She had proof of even more violations. I printed out the entire HOA rulebook and spent the day marking every section Karen had ignored. Lily's legal team uncovered that she'd never legally registered as HOA president. She just took the role when the old one left, and no one dared challenge her. Then came a surprise. Our story reached Thane Everly, a famous lawyer who makes videos about unfair housing rules. He flew in to meet Lily and offered to sue Karen and the HOA pro bono. His video about our case racked up tens of millions of views in just 3 days. Karen tried to save face with another emergency HOA meeting, but this time it was different. Instead of an empty room with a few bored faces, the community center was packed. Residents who'd never spoken up now shared how Karen oppressed them. Mr. Atticus Finch showed photos of his daughter's treehouse that Karen forced him to tear down. The Sterling family talked about how she'd called their Christmas lights too bright. Lily stepped up to the mic. She didn't just talk about the ramp, she unveiled her big plan. She'd drafted a new law to protect homeowners from HOA overreach. The room erupted in applause as she announced it'd be called the Family Happiness Act. But the best part? Security footage proved Karen had falsified official documents to get the ramp demolished. Right after that, her own lawyer dropped the case. 3 days later, we watched Karen pack up her prized shrubs, the ones she'd forced everyone to plant identically, and leave. The new HOA board was incredible. They turned the old fine issuing office into a community support hub. Now, instead of penalty letters, they send welcome baskets to new residents. They even launched a home repair program for seniors. Lily's ramp got rebuilt, better than ever. Local artists painted it with soaring seagull designs and added soft, flickering LED lights for nighttime. The neighborhood kids even call it the coolest thing on the street. Last week, Lily hosted a backyard barbecue for the whole block. Seeing everyone laugh and share food right where Karen once barked about grass height, I realized something big. Sometimes, the worst moments pave the way for the best changes. And that bulldozer company? They're now installing free ramps for disabled folks across the state. The CEO personally apologized to Lily. They even set up a scholarship fund for students studying disability rights law. The biggest shock came yesterday. I got promoted to director of the state's new homeowner protection office. My first job, helping other neighborhoods turn their HOAs from bullies into allies. Lily says we're just getting started. And you know what? Looking back at everything that's changed in just 10 months, I believe her. Our story even made it into textbooks as an example of fighting unfair rules. But the real victory isn't in headlines or new laws. It's in the little things, like watching Mrs. Elowin's gnome army grow, or seeing kids play freely in front yards without fear of fines. Karen's old house sold last week. The new family has 4 kids, 3 dogs, and guess what's in their front yard? A wheelchair ramp for their grandma. No one complained. Instead, 6 neighbors showed up to help them move in. That's when I knew we didn't just change an HOA, we changed how people think. When Karen ordered that ramp torn down in this story, I couldn't help but think about the hidden corners of modern society, where personal power sometimes tramples others' needs. What moves me is how Michael and Lily turned a nightmare into a spark for change, using truth and unity to topple injustice. From this tale, we learn a lesson. Don't stay silent in the face of wrong. Act, unite, and trust in your own strength. A quick note, this story's fiction, crafted for entertainment and inspiration. It's not meant to attack or smear anyone or any group. What do you think of it? Leave your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep creating meaningful stories together. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. Wishing you a peaceful day, and I'll see you in the next one.